Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Runway to Retirement podcast, where we're going to dive deeper into all things on that runway to retirement. And by runway to retirement, I mean that last 5 to 10 years, whether you're 10 years away, whether you're 8 years away, whether you're 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, or whether you're looking at retirement literally in the next year. The name of this podcast is to explore all these things and have lots of good information. So the format's going to be between 10 to 30 minutes, depending on the content we've got to cover. We'll have special guests occasionally. Feel free to comment and add suggestions as we go. But in episode 1 today, we're going to have a look at the 5 critical steps to get right for every plan. And this is based on 25 years plus of me sitting with clients and helping them to do their own retirement planning. So as a day-to-day practicing advisor, this is what I do every day for the last 25 years. So more than 16,000 hours of face-to-face working with clients and helping them set up for retirement. I've had the pleasure of watching them go from not sure about where they're going to be to totally confident and ready to retire. So it's a good, fun process to watch. So let's get in. But before I do that, just firstly, a disclaimer. So everything I talk about in the podcast is general advice. I don't know you yet. And that means the information, while being useful, may not be exactly suitable for where you are right now. So you should do one of a few things. You should get your own advice. If you're ready to reach out to someone, you should do your own research to make sure whatever you're doing is going to stack up, or you should continue to learn more until you're confident you can act either on your own research or with someone helping you. So I want to start with what is a core belief that we've built up over, as I said, 25 years of face-to-face advice and 40 years of working in investment markets. And that core belief is that the best financial decisions are usually made as part of a real plan. Now, let me explain. We get a lot of people come to us and they say, oh, Rob, I'm thinking of getting a self-managed super fund, or I'm thinking of buying investment property, or I'm thinking of buying some BHP shares. So they come to us with a question that's very tactical. So by tactical, I mean it's a question about the next step, but they haven't actually built a plan. I'm going to talk about what makes up a real plan in a minute. But we'll normally say, look, maybe it's a good idea to start a self-managed super fund. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a good idea to buy an investment property. Maybe it's not. For some it is. But before we do that, let's get some context. Let's create a plan. So that core belief led us to create these 5 steps that are critical for every plan. So we're looking at a plan for someone. We start off with some goals, and this applies to any plan. So whether it was a holiday plan, a business plan, a lose weight plan, a garden plan, any plan has to have, firstly, the outcome we're trying to achieve or the goals. I'll talk more about each of these in a minute. So firstly, we got the goals. Secondly, we need to know where we are, and you'll see a GPS in the middle of that thing. The company we built, GPS Wealth, which coaches and licenses advisors, was a simple analogy. A GPS knows where you are, hopefully, if the satellite's working. You put in where you want to go, and it tells you step by step how to get there. So a good plan should do exactly that. So we've got our goals. So it's step number 2 is a crystal clear picture of where we want to get to. And that's going to include all your financial stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Step number 3 is what strategies are we doing and what could we be doing to get from where we are to where we need to be. And a strategy is just a thing like put more money into super, pay off debt, buy an investment property. And I'll talk you through some more of those. And we're going to hear more about lots of these in other episodes of the podcast. But that's the strategies. Now, deeper than that, we've then got the tactics and the actions. So once we've got the strategies, once we've worked out whether the strategies are highly likely to get us to our goals, then we can put it all together in a plan. And a plan is just a map, which is exactly what to do, when to do it. It's an action list and it's a project list. Action lists are just what to do. Projects are more bigger, comprehensive things like buying an investment property. It's going to involve a whole lot of actions. And lastly, we've got to manage us. We are the biggest obstacle, and I'm going to talk more about that in other episodes. We've got to take the right action and not be procrastinating. We've got to make sure that we avoid bad decisions, big mistakes, and that we make good decisions. And potentially you need people around you to help, whether that's general information like this or whether it's specific advice. We'll talk more as well about what's best for you. So those 5 steps, and by the way, those 5 steps apply to anything. If you're going on a holiday, You need to know where you're going, what you're trying to do when you get there. If I'm going to Canada, I'm going skiing. That gives me my goal. Then I need to know where I am. I'm sitting here at home on the Sunshine Coast. So I'm going to need to work out how to get to an airport, fly to Canada, etc. They're all strategies. And then we've got the actions and the tactics. I'm going to fly Qantas. I'm going to leave on a particular date. We're going to get a taxi to the airport. They're all tactics. But we want to have the plan first before we start on the actions. And that's why that core belief is so important. So let's go through these one by one in regards to retirement. And for most of the audience here, they're probably in their 50s or early 60s. So we're setting goals for retirement. So we're going to be talking about how much income you're going to need to pay for a nice life. How much you're going to need to pay for the nice things. That's travel. Will you be flying the back of the plane, front of the plane? Will you be a grey nomad? Will you be driving? Will you be camping? Will you be checking in to 5-star hotels? So we're going to need to work out how much we're going to need coming in each month, each year to pay for that nice life. Then we're going to need to work out how much that translates into assets, and that'll be another episode. But we're also going to work out whether we need any lump sums. So are we going to need money to buy cars, caravans, boats? Need money for those bucket list trips? Are we going to be doing a home reno? Are we going to be helping the kids or the grandkids? So part of the goals here, the main financial goals are going to involve money. Some of them will involve time as well. One of the beautiful things about watching people retire is they then have time. And ironically, if they haven't thought about it, sometimes that becomes an issue for them because they're not sure how they're going to spend their time. So as much as we can be working about what sort of money you're going to need, you also need to setting up what your goals are and spending your time. What does a good day look like? What does a good week look like? What does a good month look like? What's a good year look like? And all this helps to set those goals. So step 2, the crystal clear picture. What have we got in assets? In an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk more about the types of assets you're going to need in retirement. And we're going to also explore how much you might need. But assets are just the superannuation, the houses you've got, investment property, share portfolios. We also want to know where you're up to with your debts, if you've got any. So we have to establish your net worth and your net nest egg assets. Your net nest egg assets, which I'll talk more about in our next episode, are just how much you're going to have available that will generate income for you in retirement. So you've got a house, you've got cars, things like that. They don't generate any income. But your superannuation, your investment property, your share portfolio all generate income. So they're part of your nest egg assets that are going to provide you with that nest egg income, which allows you not to have to work. And you're going to need to understand your super, what other income you might have, what your expenses are going to be, and the surplus. Now, it's not as hard as you think. It will require work. We talk often about these things being simple, but not necessarily easy. It takes time. For some people, they're very good at doing that themselves. Others will need guidance of resources like this, and other people will need personal advice. And there'll be an upcoming episode on how you work out which type you fit in. And at least you can be learning from stuff like this until you work out whether you need advice or whether you're going to be a do-it-yourselfer. So number 3, smart strategies. So superannuation is a strategy. Should we be putting more money into super? Should we be putting less money in? Should we be putting it into our spouse's name? Should we be putting it into our name? Are we in the right fund? Do we actually have the right investment strategy within our super? So these are all the strategies to get there. If we've got a house, are we going to stay in that house? Might we be looking for a new home? Is it going to cost us more? Is it going to cost us less? Do we have any investment properties? So what strategies are we using now? Are there any smart strategies that we should be using? If I've got a mortgage still, what's my strategy to pay it off? Will I just go hard into super, pull some money out of super and pay it off? Or do I put the foot down? For some of you out there, you'll be empty nesters or nearly empty nesters. So for you, that might mean all of a sudden the kids are gone, there's a bit of pocket money, there's a bit of extra money up the sleeve, you're now going to smash the mortgage. So that's a strategy. Are we going to build a share portfolio? Do we need to have portfolio outside of super? You tend to have investments inside of super or outside of super. What should be the focus? We'll have an episode coming up shortly on superannuation. It is a critical tool and structure for retirement. It is completely tax-free. Lots of debate always about whether you've got the right super or the wrong super, about whether they're going to change the rules a little or a lot. and we'll discuss that some more. But ultimately, yeah, should we be building money inside a super, outside a super, and how are we going to manage that? We call that careful portfolios. Watch this space for more information on that. And then it comes together in a plan. And keep in mind, a plan is just a document of some sort, no specific requirements. We'll show you how you can get access to one of our simple 4-page plans shortly. You'll find that on our website, which I'll talk about at the end. But a plan is just a map that says how you're going to get from A to B. What do we need to do? Who's going to do it? When are we going to do it? What's our goals? What's our plans? What's our strategy? And then what's our actions and tactics? What projects are we going to do now? What are we going to have scheduled for later? Not everything is do now. We might own an investment property and we might work out that we're going to keep it for another 5 years, sell it the year after retirement. And that's a good example of something that's been thought about and customized and goes to the plan. So we've worked out with help of our accountant or our advisor that we've got a bit of capital gains tax to potentially pay if we sell our investment property. We do want to sell it because it's going to help us clear the mortgage. And if we sell it, we don't want to pay too much capital gains tax, and our accountant or ourselves work out that if we sell it after we've retired, when we have no or less taxable income, we're going to pay less tax. We'll run an episode on this as well at some stage. So we put that down as a project. 1 year after retirement, sell investment property, pay back debt, put extra money into super to minimize the tax, and get more into super. So we'll have more of an income stream. So that's an example of some of those projects and actions. Now, the last one is certainly not the least. We've got to manage our behavior, our mindset, our actions. I call it manage the mindset because that's where all our actions start. It's very easy on this stuff to procrastinate. I've been talking to people on this, as I said, for 25 years, and the amount of people that have been going to do something about all the things that we're talking about on this podcast is immense. The amount of people that actually do it is relatively few. We know, and we'll talk about this some more at another time, but we know less than 20% of people get to what I would call a really good retirement, and a good retirement that at least maintains the standard of living they've been used to. And for most people that have been working in good jobs, that's going to be income of 80,000 and upwards for a couple and 60,000 upwards for a single. And that can be as high as whatever people are used to. It'll vary depending on cities, and we're going to talk about that in another episode on exactly how much you need. But effectively, it can be scary for lots of people. So they procrastinate, they put things off. So sometimes you need a support crew, whether that's people you're doing this in parallel with, whether that's it's online resources. We certainly provide those, or whether it's a face-to-face advisor that you prefer to drive you through, a bit like a personal trainer, to make sure you stay on track. So who are you going to need in your team? So they're the 5 steps of a plan. And I'm going to wrap up with some few extra bits in a minute. But before we wrap up, how can you learn more? If you want to learn more about the types of things I've been talking about today, keep tuning into the podcast, and you'll find that where you find all good podcasts, and you'll find it where you found this one. You can read or listen to our book, and you'll find the links to that on the website. You'll find us on all the usual social media, particularly Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, a little bit on TikTok, and also Facebook. Do our course. We've got a course that holds your hand and tells you what to do step by step to build your retirement plan and to take the right actions and investments to confidently get you to a good retirement. For those that don't want to do it themselves, we can help you find an advisor who's going to operate in what I call real planning. There's a lot of the advice industry that operates from a product focus, where they're trying to sell you stuff rather than help you work out what you need to do. Feel free to share all this stuff. Don't keep it a secret. Share it with your friends. Feel free to like, and feel free to add any comments so we can help. And that's always ideas for more episodes of this. So just a reminder as we wrap, that core belief, this is so critical to hold this belief that the best decisions are usually made as part of a real plan. So what that means is before you start to work out the tactics, should I buy BHP? Should I sell my investment property? Should I buy another investment property? Am I in the right super? Should I change to another super? They're all tactics. So before we decide on the tactics, you want to build a plan. And that plan will have some goals. It'll have a nice, clear picture of where we are now. So to use that example, if I'm trying to work out whether I should change my super, what's my goal? My goal is to have a well-performing super fund that's reasonable costs, that's going to help me build my retirement nest egg. So I'll look at where I'm at now. I've got a super fund and I'm either happy with it and I've evaluated it properly. So I've assessed what the fees are like. I've assessed what the performance are like. I've assessed whether that is in line with where it should be by looking at comparable funds. And then I'll work out whether I've either got a good fund that's appropriate or a bad fund, and whether I've got the right assets within that. So we've now got a clear picture. Then we can start to talk about, okay, if I don't have a good fund, if I don't have a great super investment strategy at the moment, what should I look at now? And then we can evaluate things like, do I need a self-managed super fund, or do I just need a better fund that has a more reasonable cost structure and get myself into the right investment options? And watch this space. There's a lot to all this stuff. There's lots of information you can find through our resources. And once you've got that strategy, your plan then comes together. I need to roll over my super fund. I need to invest it in this particular strategy. And then I'm going to add so much money a month to it. So that's an example of a plan. Then you've just got to set it up so you do it regularly, whether that's an accountability buddy or if it's husband and wife or spouse and spouse, you sit down with your spouse once a month and make sure you're ticking off all the things you need to do. For lots of people, they may find it useful to have an advisor to help them with all that, or to be part of a group, a course or something like that, where there's online resources to help you keep yourself accountable to yourself to do what you need to do. So that's a wrap. I hope you've enjoyed episode 1. My name's Rob McGregor, dedicated to helping you get to better retirements. As I said, you can find more about us on all these things. And until next time, you have a great day and we'll talk soon.